everybody. Thank you and welcome back to the Gospel of Comics for the third time this evening. Hopefully, everything's working this time and you can hear Ayrton. Ayrton, say something.
Please tell him that you can hear me.
Oh, there's nobody watching to tell me, so I can hear you, so fuck it, it's fine. Anyway. Oh, well, Becky's back in the chat, so maybe somebody can hear us now. I don't know. If they can't, then we'll just put on a silent show. Who knows? It'll be like a silent film.
We'll just go grab one of the old radio shows and throw it on.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yes, finally. Oh, well, I mean, if they couldn't hear you, there's no guarantee that they would be able to hear the old radio show. I apologize, guys. You guys have no idea. I've been screwing with this audio stuff, trying to figure it out. For some reason, now my desktop audio is outputting through my microphone. It's a clusterfuck. It's a shit show. I hate it. It's the worst. So
just for you, I'm gonna go learn how to use Voice Meter.
Well, you already have
these issues.
You at least already have a cardinal understanding of how audio works. Like that's probably the leg up you have on me. I do apologize. I couldn't just do that stuff on the fly. I refuse to just get that mad on air. And there's nothing that makes me angrier than technology that doesn't work the way it's supposed to. Like that's the thing.
You know, it's like a Tesla running out of gas.
Right. Exactly. Like, there's one thing if, you improperly use the thing, but there's another thing entirely of it's a digital audio setup. There really shouldn't be that many ins and outs to it. I don't understand why there's not an option in Windows to just go in and say, you know what? Fuck Skype. You can mute that now. But anyway, like I said before, welcome back to the Gospel of Comics. I am your host, The Church of Failure, and with me as always is my co-host, Ayrton McCartney. This week, we been hyping up the Amalgam Age of Comics, and my children are harassing me already because they know I'm on air. Fantastic.
Surprisingly, my dog is laying on the bed sleeping, not coming in to try and get me to play with her.
Oh, well, one of us has to have an easy go at it. And why would it be the one that had to run the stream? That's the question you have to ask
yourself. I could put OBS on my iPad.
Oh yeah, because you've definitely got the RAM for that.
Yeah. Or the internet connection.
Right. Nice shit. So, this week we did something a little bit different, and that is Marvel versus DC, or DC versus Marvel, depending on which books you're reading. But this was a 1996, I believe, experiment that they did.
I believe that is correct.
Lot of great artists and writers and whatnot. My kids will have their 15 minutes. I mean, my son's already destined to be famous in some form or fashion in his entertainment industry. I'm sure my youngest daughter is probably going to grow up to be a professional boxer, the way she beats the crap out of her older siblings. And, my middle daughter is destined to be a princess, so, I've got it covered.
As long as one of them isn't famous for being a serial killer or something.
Well, they could be anything they want to be, a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. It's fantastic. The world is their oyster, as long as they can take care of me and Mrs. Church once they get older. That's in response to Danielle in the chat. They're talking about my chapels just want their 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But in any event, The Amalgam Age of Comics was a time when Marvel and DC got together and they co-published a story. Now, this isn't the first time that that's happened by any means. Just right now, I've got a copy of Batman and the Punisher. I've got Batman and Spider-Man, Batman and the Hulk. I think there's a what's the other one? I don't. Let's see here. There's a handful more. There's a lot of Marvel and DC crossovers that happened well
Batman and
before.
Howard the Duck.
I wish I would read that. Speaking of which, Howard the Duck will be a part of what we're talking about tonight. Don't you fret. I know that's what everyone was waiting for, with some Howard the
Oh,
Duck
of
action.
course.
Batman and Captain America and Batman and Daredevil are the other ones that I'm thinking about.
Why is it always Batman?
Oh, there's more. I just my father was a very very devout Batman fan.
Uh,
So anything Batman, he had to sink his teeth into. Surprisingly, he was also a very big Wolverine fan. So when the Amalgam comics came out, Dark Claw was waifu.
which
But
those were a fun read, I'll have to say.
right. So let's just go ahead and jump right into it. And we're gonna play around with doing things just a little bit differently. I don't want to. My output. Okay. Saying my output is garbage on YouTube. Is everything coming through for you guys? Is that just my browser being a piece of crap? I don't know. If it keeps giving me problems, I'm just gonna tell Ayrton to pull the stream up in the background and check it out. But so far, it seems okay as far as OBS
All right,
goes. It could just be YouTube lying to me. So, not receiving enough video to
just let me
maintain
know.
smooth streaming. It's a still image right now, YouTube. What more video do you want? Have I mentioned that I hate technology tonight, guys? I used to be so tech
If this
savvy.
keeps up,
Yeah, go ahead.
we're gonna start a show via smoke signal.
Um,
Everyone will just have to go stand outside and look in the sky.
I think that might be. We could send it Morse code.
That could be fun.
Yeah, we could send it via Morse code. I think people would dig that. Anybody in the chat, let us know if there's buffering issues or if the stream's not coming through. It should be fine. It's coming in crystal clear on my end, but again, I'm an idiot, so don't listen to me. I just boomered up this audio for like 20 minutes. But now I'm going to have some whiskey and we're just going to move on with the show, so. There's going to be a guest star co-host with my 2-year-old in the background running around destroying things, so enjoy that. Well, now my preview's not coming up in the. Okay, Danielle's saying it's all right there, so we're just gonna kind of go move on with it. I'm gonna refresh one more time.
All right.
And we're just gonna. Hey, baby. Bye, baby.
See, I went and bought this new fancy headset.
Yeah,
and we have all these issues.
Yeah, you bought a new headset and you ruined everything. I blame you for this. Somehow this is your fault and your headset. Soder just shouted out on Twitter that he. And now you're roboting again, so the headset does nothing. This is just a fantastic evening tonight. The issue's finally up on screen, so do a show via amateur radio. I don't even know what that is. And I would just broadcast old Shadow episodes again. But anyway, into this Marvel versus DC thing. We're going to do things a little bit differently going forward, at least for the time being. Um, See how it works out. Instead of going beat for beat, and I think we've even said this before, but instead of going beat for beat through the story, we're going to give a little bit of a general overview of what's going on. And then we're just kind of going to give our thoughts and whatnot on what it is. What is happening right now? I don't even understand. The bitrate is just garbage. Is it really my reader? Is that what it is? Is it my document reader? Because that's trash if it is.
Huh?
It may just be my internet. I don't know. OBS is fluctuating between good quality and shit quality like 10 times a second. I just don't think I don't think the gods at work want us to do a stream tonight. I think that's really where we're
Uh, uh,
at. Now
apparently.
audio is cutting in and out.
We,
I think we're just gonna call it, man. We can't. If we can't get this to work, then
yeah.
I mean, this will be the second time we'll have to restart and do everything. So we may just have to cut out and just try again later next week. I hate missing a show, but this is just not working out at all tonight for whatever reason. I think it may be internet issues. It may be the weather. Um, it may just be my bad karma seeping into my laptop. Oh, now the everything's in the green. Now that I've tried to talk myself out of it.
I was gonna say we might need to exercise your router or your laptop.
Well, I'm directly plugged in. Nothing else seems to be pulling a special FFC license for it. Interesting. Uh, if it keeps staying choppy, let us know, and we'll just cut it and try again next week. This is not a comic book that's going to go anywhere. But like I was trying to say, instead of going beat for beat, I don't think we're going to go, through the entire story and explain it point for point for point. But I do think that we can, maybe bring up a little bit more than just the actual story elements, like what we thought of the book, what we thought of the art, what we would have done differently, what we would have liked to see, that kind of thing. Um, but round one, Marvel vs. DC, number one of four. Um, first off, first thing I want to look at is the cover, because this is pretty much the matchups that you get in the actual storyline. I mean, there are a few others that aren't pictured here. I think Catwoman and Elektra are a match that aren't pictured
Well,
here.
now another.
Go ahead.
Now, one thing I don't know, I don't think we mentioned with this is as they were writing this, they had fans vote on who should win in the matchups. Am I correct with that?
Yes. Well, maybe. I mean, I'm not sure. I know that's how it worked with Jason Todd's death in A Death in the Family.
Oh,
But
okay.
I'm not sure. I think there might have been a way to vote on who won Marvel and DC, but it didn't really have an effect on the story. But we'll get there when we get there. I'm just commenting on the cover that they don't have the Elektra and Catwoman matchup on here, even though every other matchup.
That's
What now?
that's because comic books were sexist before they got woke.
No, man, you got Storm and Wonder Woman at center billing. You don't, and Jubilee right behind Storm. You don't think they could have put two more women on there? Isn't
No,
that
that'd be too many. Someone
it?
has to. Someone
Somebody
has
can.
to bake the pie.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. You go tell Electra and Catwoman to bake you a pie, though. But essentially, this is a story of Marvel and DC starting to merge together, essentially. But before the actual merging takes place, we open up in New York City in the Marvel universe, and there's a gateway or an access tunnel, and you meet a character called Axel Asher, who's formerly known as Access. What now? You're breaking up a
I
lot.
didn't say anything.
Oh, okay.
I'm not
Uh,
saying anything.
okay. Well, it sounded like you were coming through. But okay.
Huh.
Is the audio any better, Danielle? Okay. Here again. Okay. Well, we're gonna ask this one more time. Is the audio okay? Type it in the chat.
Am I still coming through?
Right. Am I just are we just talking to the air right now? It would be fitting. I haven't even
It
had
would
my
be.
first sip of whiskey. No, it was you and Danielle both, it seems, but is it still doing that? Is the question.
Huh.
Because it's being screwy for me too. Um, on my end, just watching the live dashboard, which has been near perfect for 3 weeks. I've got nothing but low video output, even though OBS is telling me that my video output is fine. I'm not even use 50. I'm not even using 50% of my CPU or going up to 30 frames a second. So
Yeah, use that real high
I know you're not
FPS for the
Danielle,
still
Becky.
image.
Both of you were telling me that you couldn't hear well. I don't know. I've been defeated. I've been defeated by the stream. The universes are colliding, and they just don't want me to stream. My children are not behaving. It's just it's all bullshit and it's all bad for me. But anyway,
Sounds like you just need to drink straight from the bottle.
I'm thinking about it. It's getting to that point, but I'm gonna have to log off before I do that. If I get into that, now my 4-year-old's upset. All right, I'll be back. Talk to the people for a minute. We may have to just postpone
All
this.
right.
I'm just not. I'm not sure this is going to work out tonight.
Okay. So, so to be fair, I can't really continue with where we're at with here because I didn't actually get to reading this section of the Amalgam storyline, but um, the rest of it has been pretty fun. The merged characters, some of the crossovers have been pretty interesting. So hopefully we can get this figured out and keep going because I think you guys will enjoy this storyline.
Oh, we'll pick the storyline up
But
even
we'll
if we
see.
can. She can hear fine. Buffering issues. It might be YouTube. It very well may be YouTube because it's being crappy on my end as well. But we'll have the story one way or the other. I was gonna open up with a joke about how we were gonna be up front this time about how we were going to have to break this up into two shows anyway because there was so much to go over, and there would be no way we could even get through the merged characters in one show.
That's. I don't even think we could really merge characters in one show. There's so
No,
many of them.
no. I mean, every character literally in both universes. Okay, it's telling me the stream health is good on YouTube again. I'm going to look at OBS, and that's probably going to fuck it up. I'm fluctuating between 800 and 2400 bit per second, so we'll see. Superman in the chat. How's it going, man? I have no idea who Superman is, but thanks for dropping in, buddy. Oh.
Maybe his presence will grace our stream, and we'll be able to finish this.
I don't know. He could take up all the sunlight and lower the solar radiation in the stream, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, book one, you open up, you see the gateway, and you're in Marvel's version of New York City. Marvel's Spider-Man gets caught up in that gateway, transfers over to DC, and encounters the Joker. Stuff like this keeps happening when, all throughout the book. Basically, this story is the story of Axel Asher, aka Access. And Access is what they call a shard of the Universal Brothers. Now, one thing that gets me is the brothers were set to represent the Marvel and DC universes. So I'll pull the brothers up on screen so that we can kind of get an idea of what we're dealing with here. Maybe is it book 2 that they're introduced in? No. There we go.
Not sure.
There we go. These are the brothers. One represents Marvel and one represents DC. Equals but opposites, so to speak. And they're not supposed to interact with one another. One of them, they literally represent the embodiment of, I guess, the multiverse or whatever. These are the two powers in each universe greater than the Spectre and the Living Tribunal, which is, plot device. So this is the only place I've ever seen these characters actually pop up as well. The brothers, quote unquote, exist pretty much solely for this story. So,
now, don't you kind of want them to do like a Justice League versus Avengers movie?
the Joker's in the chat as well.
All right, Superman, Joker, you two, just stay in your own corners.
All right, don't reenact, what is it, Injustice? Don't do that. But in any event, the brothers, they put off shards, basically, and these are the gatekeepers between Marvel and DC. And these gatekeepers are literally gatekeepers. They're supposed to keep the two universes from merging together, or even recognizing that the other exists. But supposedly all of the quote-unquote crossovers that are mentioned throughout the story, even though there is a Batman and Hulk comic book, I don't believe that Superman even knows about the Hulk, which would make me question Batman's motives of not telling him about the green guy from another dimension that came by. But once,
yeah. Don't you always question Batman's motives?
No. Never question Batman's motives. He'll throw a
No,
batarang at you.
fair.
He doesn't appreciate that shit. Um. So, oh god, no, that's not what I wanted. I don't need another one. So we'll go ahead and jump into to some of the stuff from issue two. But before we do, just kind of a brief recap. There is one interesting thing that happens in this first issue that I kind of want to talk about. Um, Clark Kent and uh, and Peter Parker meet working for the Daily Planet, which is fantastic. And Kent writes an article about the issues going on, and then Peter Parker basically starts eyeing up Lois Lane in the next couple of issues. It's pretty hilarious, but god damn it. So, but yeah, one thing that's really interesting about this is you get to see kind of the interaction of these characters, and how fantastic is it that Superman and Spider-Man both had a mullet in the 1990s?
Yeah, I I don't know if I would say awesome. I'm kind of torn on that,
No,
but
man, it's amazing. Mullet Superman was best
like
Superman, besides Electric Superman.
I I want to know how Peter gets his mask over all that hair.
He has
Like legit, like seriously, like logistically.
oh, he has the stocking, man. He has the makeup stocking.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So he has to put that on first, and then put the. Okay.
Right.
So I would assume he would just make one, like just use his web shooters and just like,
Stick it
web
to
his hair up.
web his hair like that episode of Rocko's Modern Life where he threatened to use the tape on his hair. Oh
Man,
yeah,
I haven't heard a Rock Modern Life reference in forever.
Batman now in the chat.
What? What is going on?
we're being we're being invaded by the Amalgam universe. Somebody was waiting to do this.
Well, it seems like it's just the DC side so far.
Well, you got to give it a minute. You got to give it time. We'll get the second issue loaded up here, and this is where the fighting starts. And that's probably the most interesting part of this series, and it's pretty obvious where you can see where they picked some of the some of the contestants to go up against one another. But at the same time,
Yeah.
it does kind of leave you like wondering a little bit, like, okay, who who made the calls on these fights, right? So
Right.
issue two, and we should probably actually take a pause here and let me pull up. There were an ass of creators. Now,
Oh yeah. The list is ridiculous.
and the names are fantastic, are they not? Like,
Oh yeah.
so the amount of writers that worked on these things. One thing that I think I really let's see here. Does it tell you list of Amalgam publications? No, well maybe it doesn't tell you. But I mean, we'll
Yeah, I
leave it
didn't
up on
remember seeing
screen.
it in the.
We'll,
Yeah,
we'll leave,
might as
yeah,
well.
we'll leave it up on screen. You can see that there were two pencilers and two inkers, one letterer, one colorer. Uh, Peter David, with thanks to Ron Mars, Claudio Castanelli, or Castellini, Dan Jurgens, Paul Neary, Joseph Rubinstein. That's a name. Joseph Rubinstein. Anyway, you you start to get into the fights here. That's where it says Showdown of the Century, and you notice that it says Marvel versus DC on this cover. Issues 1 and 4 were DC versus Marvel. I think they just kind of agreed that each of them would get top billing on 2 issues. But which one of the overall fights did you like the best? Because I think my answer is going to be a little more a little unexpected.
It's hard to say. They were all fairly interesting for the most part.
Oh, that's definitely something
I
we
don't.
should bring up.
I did. I I did like was it uh Dark Side and Thanos?
That yeah, but
That
that
was kind of
wasn't a.
funny.
I don't think that was a championship battle though. That was that was a hell of a spread though in this book that I think we should pull up and discuss the different heads with no rhyme or reason to the ordering. Like it's not Marvel DC Marvel DC.
Right.
You know, it's just these guys. We're gonna put all of these headshots that we have. Probably all copied artwork as well. But honestly, mine was Submariner and Aquaman.
That is surprising for you. I would not have expected that one.
Well, because this is my favorite Aquaman. This is Pirate Hook Aquaman.
Okay. I got you.
So, but close second to Wolverine and Lobo going at it because that was just fantastic as it is.
Yeah, I mean, Flash and Quicksilver, that one's, kind of an obvious.
Yeah, I didn't like that one though, for the simple fact that Quicksilver beat up Barry Allen after Barry Allen played the hero.
Well, at this point, Quicksilver's a villain, right?
No,
No, he's not at this.
no, he's been a villain off and on, but I don't I don't really think he was at this point because they kind of matched heroes and villains up as well. Um, Now this is probably my favorite fight scene from the book. This isn't my favorite matchup. This is my favorite fight scene. Um, Probably one of the more important ones. Thor versus Captain Marvel. Both of them with powers over lightning and the storm and all that good stuff.
Yeah,
And
what is up with Thor's design?
it was the 90s, man. Like, you don't remember 90s comics just being 90s comics?
I I don't think I've read much '90s Thor. Like most of the Thor I've read is like the classic stuff from like the '60s and '70s.
Yeah, man, this was, look at how many, like, he's got like a 36 pack. And just look at the design of these characters. If this isn't Liefeld era, what is it? Everybody's got clown feet or no feet. In the midst of the battle, well, before the battle starts, both of them look at each other and realize that imbued with the strength of gods, the only thing that they can do before they fight is sit and kneel and pray. Um, Thor is victorious in this one. He loses his hammer. Wonder Woman picks it up, Later on, Wonder Woman comes up against Storm in a pitted fight because that's what these brothers are doing. They're choosing champions from each world and sending them somewhere they can fight without hurting innocent people to decide which one of them will be destroyed, essentially, is the overarching idea. Um, there are a handful of fights, like you said. I don't know that Thanos versus Darkseid counts because I don't know that we actually saw a resolution to that one. Oh, Thanos is
Yeah.
in the chat calling Batman out.
the the imagery though of the two of them like just standing there just staring each other down is pretty sweet though.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah. What are you talking about, Thor or Wonder Woman?
No, Thanos and Darkseid.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was a good one. I think that was in this book. I can pull that up. But yeah, there are some fights that happen that I don't think count, like Wolverine versus Killer Croc and Captain America versus Bane. I don't think those fights count. but
Fair enough.
but yeah, you have Quicksilver winning over Thor or over the Flash because the Flash was distracted. You do have Aquaman winning over the Submariner, and I'm going to pull that up. And the reason that this is my favorite fight out of these is simply because of the scene that they let it happen in. Um, Aquaman uses his power to talk to fish to drop Shamu on the Submariner. So, I mean, really, how do you beat that?
That's a good point, but you know he only won because he's Pirate Hook Aquaman.
Right, right. He's not wearing an orange shirt right
Yeah, if he was, he would have lost.
now. Right. Another prominent fight that happened, I think it was in the next book, was Spider-Man versus Superboy, which was an interesting concept. I think they were just matching up the clones. So, but they also included a tally in the back of the book, so you could kind of keep up with who was fighting who and whatnot. So
Yeah.
the match rundown as it goes was Hulk and Superman. Obviously, Superman wins that one. Captain America and Batman. Pretty close match, but Batman pulled it out. Storm and Wonder Woman. I read that today, and I don't even remember who won. I think it was Storm with the thunder with hitting Wonder Woman with lightning a few times.
Yeah. Let's see.
We're gonna see it here in a minute anyway.
Yeah.
Spider-Man and Superboy went to Spider-Man. Wolverine won out over Lobo. The Flash won out over Quicksilver somehow. Did he? I thought Quicksilver beat the Flash after he saved some kids. It might have.
I don't
I
know.
don't
No.
know.
There's so much stuff going on.
Right. Robin and
I mean,
Jubilee fight. The yellow clad sidekicks. Elektra and Catwoman, the only ones that weren't, shown on the initial issue. Maybe somebody raised the issue that there weren't enough women fighting. Thor went out over Captain Marvel, and then Silver Surfer versus Green Lantern, in which I think Silver Surfer takes that one home.
Yeah. Which I don't know. I would think Green Lantern would win in that.
Now, another thing that they did in these books that I really appreciated, um, because back in this day they were still operating under the assumption that everyone's comic book was your first comic book, they kind of gave you profiles on these characters. So if you were a Marvel fan that was reading this, I had no idea who Captain Marvel was, per se. It gives you kind of a rundown of who Captain Marvel is, what his power set is, all of that good stuff. But at the same time, it introduces you to the character so that you might go and pick up a DC comic with Captain Marvel in it now. So this was something I really enjoyed. They also showed Jubilee in a costume that she's not wearing in the book. That's her Generation X costume. I'm pretty sure she's an X Man at the time of recording. Maybe not. What's it say here? Group affiliation. Um.
I
Okay.
don't know. I'm jumping back and forth.
Current group affiliation is Generation X. So that is her Generation X outfit, but that's not what she fights Robin in. And I'm pretty sure they only match those two up because they're both technically sidekicks to Dark Claw. Like that, I think that's the mentality of matching those two up.
Probably, because that matchup doesn't make any sense to me, at least.
So it all comes down to the deciding fight between Batman and between Batman and Captain America. And with that
Oh,
deciding,
just
go ahead.
just real quick, the Wolverine and Lobo fight. I like how at the end Wolverine reaches his arm up and pulls a cigar out of an ashtray and smokes it.
Yeah, and we'll show this real quick as well. This is another. The spreads in this book were amazing.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
the the art's so much fun.
yeah. So you even see some battles that you don't see in or some team ups and battles that you don't see in the actual comic. Like you see Iron Man and Steel, which I would have enjoyed. You got Joker and Green Goblin. The two archers, Speedy and Hawkeye. But I don't know who
Wait,
the
where's
red guy is with Doctor Doom though, and what the fuck Daredevil's doing, just being blind right here. Where the fuck are you
well, yeah,
going?
he's blind. He's not going after anybody.
he, he's swinging at the air. That was offensive. I'm sorry. But it's in this issue that Access finally unlocks his powers and realizes that he's the shard of the brothers and basically the sole survivor of both universes. Like whichever universe goes, he's going to exist still because he is basically part of both, so to speak. He's the only character, like, I think still to this day, he's one of the only characters that is co-owned by Marvel and DC.
Oh, really?
I'd have to do a little
Huh.
bit more research into that, but I think the last time I looked at it, yeah, Access is a character that is created and owned by Marvel and DC. I also pulled up that Lobo Wolverine fight scene you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's just fantastic that after he wins, he grabs a cigar.
Yeah.
Uh, just back when he still smoked.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Fucking cocks.
Yeah, the Ixel Pierce
Well,
in the chat saying that
that's like
there's great art. Yeah, go ahead.
it's a, it's part of his character, and smoking's not bad for him because he has his healing factor, so he can't get cancer.
Right. And Wade's already got cancer, so why would anybody yell at him for smoking?
Exactly.
But no, the art is beautiful in this book. It's very striking. And to see this, um, yeah, this is where Wonder Woman gives up the hammer to fight Storm. Superman and the Hulk bash it out outside of Metropolis, and obviously Superman beat the living shit out of him. And I think he really enjoys not having to pull his punches. But it all comes down to a single batarang. But Batman and Captain America fight, and then they crawl out of the sewers. And Access solves the problem that really the only way he knows how. Um, and then there's a really striking panel or a really striking page that I really do enjoy. Um, he puts his hand on Captain America and Batman, and then you flip the page, and it says the battles are over, and only one universe is being spared, but not the winning universe. One universe is being eliminated, but not the losing universe. The brothers are settling the contest their own way, by coming together, fusing all that they are, so that they can coexist as one united being. They're starting everything over again, merging realities, combining universes. And you get this badass figure that, I mean, for whatever reason, has the muscular structure of Thor, even though he's the universal being. Like, I like Eternity's design as a universal being. He's literally a universe in a cloak.
With a 27 pack.
No, Eternity. But you, okay, yeah, you get to the end, and you see the amalgamated character. Now, on screen, what we have is starting at the top right or the top left and moving over. You've got Doctor Doomsday, Doctor Doom and Doomsday. You've got the Amazon, which is Wonder Woman and Storm. Some of these are obvious. I forget what Gambit's name is, but I think it's Cloak that he's merged with, if I'm not mistaken. Well, no, Cloak is Marvel, but there's fuck. Now I have to look it up. Gambit.
I have too many files. There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
I gotta trim this down.
Turn it up. Todd LeBeau, Todd Gambit, Wraith. Wraith is his name in the Amalgam universe.
Right.
Todd LeBeau, aka Wraith. He is an amalgamation of Gambit and Obsidian. So Obsidian from DC Universe, which Todd Rice, biological son of Alan Scott, the Golden Age Green Lantern. So, anyway, going back, you've got Wraith, which is that. You've got Night Creeper, which is the Creeper and Nightcrawler. Doctor Strange Fate, which is an interesting one. It's Doctor Fate, Doctor Strange, but underneath the helmet, it's also Charles Xavier.
Yeah, that one confused me for a minute.
Yeah, you've got Lethal the Hunter, which is Kraven and Cheetah. The Amazing Spider-Boy, which is pretty fantastic. It's Superboy and Spider-Man.
With web shooting guns.
Yes, the web gun is fantastic. If you can figure out what the Bullseye is named, he was in the not Bullets and Bracelet. What was the other one? It was Darren Cat's book. But at this point in the series, after 3 issues, they put out, what was it, 12? About 12 different books a year for 1996 and 1997. They put out 12 one-shots, from each Marvel and DC. Um, and you got stories for each of these characters. Some of them were actual tie-ins to the story. Doctor Strange Fate was one of those where Access was involved, and there were some characters that knew that the merge had happened. But for the most part, it seemed like everyone assumed that the Amalgam universe was the way things had always been. Um, Obviously, at the bottom, you've
Well,
got. Oh, go ahead.
oh well, and they wrote the comics like that's how it's always been, like referring to back issues that don't exist.
Right, I was getting to that. There are panels in each of the books that, well, not each, but some of them that have little notations referencing issues that were never written, and even the letters column were fabricated to have letters from previous story arcs and events that happened in these books that never existed. So they went all out with this event, and it was really nice for that aesthetic too, because the letter columns were actually very entertaining, and they actually gave you kind of a deeper dive into the history of these characters, which is something I wanted, especially with like Doctor Strange Fate. Uh,
Yeah, which isn't it kind of unfair that Professor X gets technically two
no,
characters in this?
no, because you'll come to find, like, if you've been in comics long enough, that there's a lot of overlap.
Yeah,
So occasionally you've got two characters that would work well with one DC character, so to speak. That makes sense. Like Eric Magnus, the Magnetic Man.
yeah,
Like Magneto was still Magneto, but he was also super scientist Will Magnus. Shit like that
fair enough.
happens. Um, but yeah, I mean, there are some things that do work and some things that don't. There was another amalgam event that happened later in 1997 called 1996 or 1997, but All Access and Unlimited Access, where the merge happened again, but differently. Like, I think Bishop and Superman were merged for some reason.
Yeah, there's so many of these, it's crazy.
Right. But, I think the overall fan favorite is going to be Dark Claw down there at the bottom, which is Batman and Wolverine, and then Super Soldier.
I don't know. I kind of liked Iron Lantern a lot.
I'm talking about the fan favorite overall.
I, yeah, I'm just saying Iron Lantern was that one was fun.
Yeah, Iron Lantern's a great character, and it's a damn shame that nobody like highlighted him in this particular part of the book. But let's be real here. Um, there's no cooler character than Darkclaw.
True, and with Ra's Apocalypse.
Right, Ra's Apocalypse, Talia Deathstrike.
Yeah,
But that's kind of the way these stories played out. Is they took parts of Marvel and DC history and they put them together just to kind of give you an exciting story. I'll pull up some of the cover art from the other book so that we can kind of talk about that. I won't pull up anything we've already looked at. We got assassins here, which is fantastic, and let's just talk about the the time and place where you would get shit like this. Um, Once I get it pulled up on screen, obviously.
yeah.
So, yeah. But
These just going through the list of all these, just some of them are just so ridiculous.
oh yeah, but I mean, you're really calling out ridiculous comics? It's your favorite thing?
No, I know. I'm not saying it in a bad way. Like like wonderfully ridiculous. Like Lobo the Duck.
Yeah. So you'll see here that Amalgam got its own actual imprint, like logo, that was kind of a combination of the Marvel and DC logo. I thought was pretty fantastic. But then you have character combinations that you don't really see in the main storyline, like Bat Thing, which is Man Thing and Man Bat put together. Assassins, which you have Cat's Eye and Dare. Cat's Eye is essentially Selena Kyle and Elektra, and Dare is Slade Wilson and Daredevil as a female. That one I didn't understand a whole
See,
lot, but
these were woke before woke was a thing.
right. And nobody cared. Like, nobody complained about it because it was done well and it was done right. Uh, let's see here. What's next?
By right, do you mean kind of random?
Yes. Now,
Okay.
because because Wolverine is essentially Batman, that doesn't mean that Logan and Bruce Wayne inhabit the same body.
Right.
That means that Logan is the Dark Claw and Bruce Wayne is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's pretty fantastic. Diana Prince is Diana Prince and the Punisher are teammates. Instead of Diana Lance, it's Diana Prince. So she's got the Wonder Woman gauntlet bracelet. She's still an Amazon, just like Storm was, but she's not Wonder Woman here. So just little things like that, and you've got Lex Luthor, the Green Skull. It's kind of a pretty interesting situation there.
Yeah. The hyena, that was actually I thought that was a super clever mashup.
Sabretooth and the Joker.
Yeah.
We'll pull up what was it? Legends of the Dark Claw instead of Legends of the Dark Knight. I even flip through that one real quick, but some of the artwork on these was just so amazing.
Well, it's the little things, like in the background. If you really look, like in
like the wanted posters
or like in the borrow instead of a giant penny, like they changed it to a Canadian penny in the background.
Yeah, yeah.
And like throughout all of these, there's little stuff in the background like that. That's just fantastic.
In Doctor Strange Fate, he has a collection of weapons, and there's a broadsword with a Superman symbol on it. So it kind of makes me wonder who that character was. But it's stuff like that. Like this event was so interesting that it achieved the thing that I think comic books should achieve. Like, look at this Challengers of the Fantastic. A lot of readers will never know about the Challengers of the Unknown, a DC property that was basically created to match.
No idea who they were.
Yeah, it was a DC property that was essentially created to match the popularity of the Fantastic Four.
Apparently
they didn't have. Yeah. Well, the Challengers of the Unknown, they didn't have superpowers. They were just adventurers. But
which does actually sound kind of interesting,
right? And that's the same thing with the Challengers of the Fantastic. These Fantastic Four, they don't have any superpowers, so to speak. The Thing was created by the bad guy in this book. And let's just talk about some of the bad guys that were created out of this, like Brainiac and Galactus merging.
Yeah, that was wild.
Um, you've got Oa, the
I,
living
I, will-
planet, in Iron
I
Lantern.
will have to say though, Challenges of the Fantastic, it
Mm-hmm.
was fun, but that one was, compared to the other ones, kind of hard to chew through at the beginning.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But what are you gonna do? I like the fact
Yeah,
that you
that's
end
all
up with
because
the read.
I didn't know the merger, so
Yeah. Well,
you know I was just
I
kind of going like, what's going on here?
well, I definitely appreciate the fact that you got Reed Richards wearing Doctor Octopus's arms and a forearm to Ben Grimm.
Right.
But again, Dark Claw, fantastic book. Obviously based on Legends of the Dark Knight from DC Comics. There was also a Dark Claw animated series, supposedly in the Amalgam universe, where they reference the actual animated TV show. You didn't see that one, where they did the
No, I
panel?
missed that.
Yeah, I'll pull that up and show it. But yeah, you've got Batman the animated series version of Dark Claw, which is amazing. But yeah, let me pull that down real quick, and I'll flip through and find the sequence. Yeah, right
Yeah,
here.
I can't believe I missed that reference.
Yeah, right here. The first three panels at the top, the preceding are from the TV episode Legacy of Apocalypse.
Oh, oh yeah, okay. I and the connection didn't get made in my brain.
So, but there were 24 different ones of these, and some of them are just so interesting. Like JLX, you know, Justice League Unleashed or whatever, and then you have the Judgment League of America, which was your classic Justice League. But your Justice League and your Mutant Justice League were split up. It was almost like Justice League versus Avengers. So, Mr. X is Marvin the Martian Manhunter. So just
Yeah,
the way
that
that,
was
that
that was a cool.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, I thought that was a cool mix up those two.
Right. Um, well, again, and that's not Charles Xavier. That's the Martian Manhunter leading the X-Men, basically.
Right.
Now, Aquaman and the Submariner obviously merged. Um, what I found interesting was the hellacious amount of MODOK copies. Like there's the Hector Hammond MODOK.
Yeah.
There's the Quasi MODOK or whatever that they called him.
I I thought that was fun
Yeah.
personally, but
Well, apparently
now
MODOK has a huge following that I never knew about.
really,
Yeah, like
I mean,
because
he's a fun villain.
well, apparently he's in a
This
lot of media. So
Huh? I did not know that.
I really have no idea.
Now,
But
I do want to touch on something with Iron Lantern a little bit.
okay,
Uh, now, it's supposed to be Tony Stark and Hal Jordan, but to me, like at least the quick origin they gave, it felt a little more Alan Scott to me, of him just finding the lantern and then being able to build the
well,
suit that would be the ring.
well,
I don't know. Did
that
you get that same sort of thought?
kinda, but no. In the sense that it was more Tony Stark than it was Green Lantern. See, I look at the origin to be more of the character that it represents. If that makes sense. Like, if it was just Tony
Yeah,
Stark,
that's fair.
Like if it was supposed to be more Hal Jordan, I think they would have given him a ring and he would have willed the suit of armor into existence from the ring.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's fair.
but and again, it's just the different creative teams as well. Like who,
Yeah,
like what purposes does it have merging Lobo with Howard the Duck? It doesn't
because
have
it's
any.
hilarious.
It does. It is, but it has no purpose whatsoever. Um,
I mean, who else are you going to merge those two characters with, respectively?
well, I mean, Howard the Duck. I don't know. There are enough Green Lanterns. You just make him a Green Lantern. Fuck it.
True. I mean, there's the Squirrel Green Lantern.
And the entire planet Green Lantern, and I think we touched
Yeah.
on that in the Iron Lantern book. There's Oa the Living Planet, which is Ego, and there's a there's actually another planet Mogo in Green Lantern that is a actual green energy planet,
Oh yeah, forgot about that
but
one.
it's not
So
Oa.
many Green Lantern.
No. But all in um, all of these are pretty interesting. Some of them are more interesting than others. Obviously, some of the art's better than others. But I think there's something here for everybody. Um, now, here
Yeah,
was one of my favorite
I did like the Amazon story actually. That was kind of cool.
with Poseidon.
Seeing
I
her
think,
face off again.
yeah,
Yeah, and her basically calling Poseidon a cuck and telling him to fuck off.
right. Now, one funny thing was the Spider Boy team up with the Legion of the Galactic Guardians 2099. There's nothing I don't like about this merger. I like Spider Man. I like Superboy. I like the Legion of Superheroes, and I love the 2099 imprint. So everything about this made me happy. Even down to the villain's name in the book, which was the Scavulture. Marvel's Marvel's Vulture and DC Scavenger.
Yeah.
It just is too good.
I didn't get to that one. I'll have to go back and read that one then.
Well, we'll definitely have to go through and do another show on Amalgam and pretend like this one never happened. But I mean, I'm glad we were able to at least get everything functioning. I hate having issues right before the show. It puts that pit into the middle of my stomach, and I can't deal with it.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll go through and figure out the voice meter for you, so you don't have to do it.
I've figured it out to a certain degree, but yeah, it would definitely be helpful if somebody that knows what audio terminology means knew what I was doing when I did things. Whose conscience prevailed? Oh, and in what exactly, Ixel? Um, it really depends. Like, pretty much everybody you want to see represented is represented. Even with a merger like Dark Claw, where Wolverine became Batman, um, it's not like Bruce Wayne and Logan became one character. So they really just took concepts of people and put them together. Like there are still Green Lantern rings in this universe, and God, what is it? In Doctor Strange Fate, one of his cohorts is Frankie Rayner, the Jade Nova, and she has a Green Lantern ring that she uses to light her cigarettes. Which,
I mean, I would probably do the same thing.
oh, absolutely. Um, I'll pull that one up next. This is literally one of my favorite books. There, the Doctor Strange Fate,
See,
because it's an actual tie-in.
right. See, that's one of the things that's to me was a little bit confusing. Like the characters like are kind of merged but aren't at the same time.
Yeah.
Like depending on the character. Like like Darkclaw, the they call him Logan Wayne, but then you still have Bruce Wayne,
Hmm.
and it got a I don't know, some of it got a little confusing to me. I do like how they mixed Jon Stewart and Rhodey together.
Yeah. Yeah. That was pretty fantastic.
Yeah, that was a nice little nod.
But even with like Magneto and the Magnetic Men, in this universe, Magneto went and formed the Brotherhood of Mutants, and all of the Brotherhood of Mutants died. So he essentially imbued their spirits into robots. And then, in a la Will Magnus, those robots became sentient. So then they also had to fight off against other sentient robots, which eventually Magneto just pulled them all to his side. Um, the Inhumans make appearances. Like there's a little nod to everything in the Marvel and DC universe. The Brood make an appearance. Uh, Thor and Orion, the new god from DC, merge. Obviously, Thanos and Darkseid merge. Um, Doctor Doom and
Thanos side.
Doctor Doom and Doomsday become one as Doctor Doomsday. Uh, Solomon Grundy and the Hulk merge as kind of a Jekyll and Hyde thing. So
Yeah, that
Bruce,
one was interesting too.
Bruce Banner just randomly turns into a white hulking figure called Skulk. Um, Wanda, Wanda Maximoff, and who is it? Is it Wanda Frost? Is it the White Queen? Is that who that is?
Something like that. Yeah, something like that.
No, it's Zatanna. It's Wanda. It's the red. It's the Scarlet Witch, and Zatanna becomes the White Queen or the White Witch. Just all of the little nuanced things that they did in this story to make it interesting. And this was also back in the day, like where you would have. Let's see if I can get this pulled up. I have a PDF file here of the actual trading cards that came out with this. So we'll flip through that.
Well,
But
while you're pulling that up, another thing that's interesting is the individual art for each one shot. Like the Challengers of the Fantastic is drawn in like more of the old like Jack Kirby
mm-hmm,
'60s style art from the original Fantastic Four, whereas like Darkclaw is the more modern-ish Batman art style, and I thought that was really cool.
yeah,
Reading through, Amazon was in like the classic '90s X-Men style. She still has she has the Wonder Woman outfit, but still has the weird wrist cape flying things, and yeah, that was probably my favorite part about going through these is the variations in the art styles through all of it.
yeah. Um, I liked trying to figure out who the characters were before they, were revealed as to who they were. Um,
Yeah.
some of them I still don't quite recognize, uh, but Mr. X, the Manhunter, Firebird is Jean Grey and somebody. Does it tell you on the back of the cards?
No, it gives you like little hints, but
Yeah,
I don't know DC's extended characters well enough to even make a guess.
yeah. Apollo, Ray Palmer, and Scott Summers. Mercury is Pietro Maximoff and Bart Allen, Night Creeper, Kurt Ryder.
Was it Speed Demon? That was a cool one.
Yeah. All the Magnetic Men, Cat's Eye, Electric Isle. Oh, how about you didn't read Assassins or anything, but one of the main villains in that was the Big Question, which was uh, the Kingpin and Edward Nygma. So it was basically the Kingpin with a. Oh wow, that's not a great drawing. Thing.
So, Firebird is DC's Fire, Beatriz de Costa, and Dark Phoenix.
Now this is a character that I am terribly pissed off that we did not get a comic book for. Dial Husk.
Which one?
Because she pulls she pulls off her skin and she's got another hero underneath. That's what Husk does, is she sheds his skin.
Yeah, that was a weird one, looking at the cards.
Tell me you wouldn't
and would have
read
been
it.
so much fun.
Exactly.
Yeah. I would so read it.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point. It's super weird.
So, thanks, Ixel. We definitely appreciate you stopping by. We know it's been a shit show, but we definitely appreciate everybody sticking with us and having a blast. We really did not anticipate the audio problems, and that just set everything downhill. just downhill like a shit show. Page one. No returns, no coming back from Go, no $200. All of it just awful.
Just go straight to jail.
Right. So, but and then they gave you the saga cards, the death and return of the super soldier. So this was even before Civil War, I believe. I don't think Civil War happened until 2000s or something. But we knew that Captain America, Superman, was going to die. The death of Bruce Wayne's parents. And, see, that's another thing. Bruce Wayne's parent died, and Logan Wayne's parent died, so...
Yeah, that's some more stuff I got confused about. But it's also hinted at that, Logan's still as old as he is in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
So like, they died 180 years ago.
Right, and he's still looking for the guy that killed him?
Yeah. There is some stuff that gets a little bit confusing if you start thinking about it too hard.
Yeah. So, I don't know. You really can't, you really can't hate this. There's something for everybody there. I really wish there was more of it. I wish it was something that was like a yearly recurring thing. Because that's something that they could always do. Because I think, if I'm not mistaken, and you might know better than me because you've looked it up more recently, but wasn't a multiverse designation given to this Earth and in Marvel and DC?
Not in DC, only Marvel. It was like 3092 or something like that.
Right. So there was a designation given to it in one of the universes, so it would be possible to revisit it.
9602 in Marvel.
9602. Cute. The year it came out. Cute.
I mean, that's Marvel for you.
Right. Well, It would be Universe 53 in DC. You didn't get
Why
that.
53? No.
They've all but trademarked the number 52. Ethan Van Sciver talked about it on a video recently, but they uh, they have all but trademarked the number 52. When they relaunched their universe in the early 2000s, they called the event 52,
Yeah.
and they released a comic every week with the 52 storyline in it. 52 weeks in the year. The the
Gotcha.
the, the number 52 was heavily prominent. The lowest number of comics until June this year that they had ever put out was 52 in a month. June this year it went down to 50, but in December it was
Oh,
cutesy because
shit.
it was 52.
Because why wouldn't you do that?
Right. But once it went down to 50, people started to worry.
I mean, shouldn't people have started worrying in like 2015?
People should have started worrying in 2008.
Fair
There's
enough.
the big question. Is that not terrifying? The Kingpin should never talk in riddles. Sinestron was pretty interesting. The brain and a sentinel with Sinestro's coloring. Ultra Metallo. Um, Ultraman, or not Ultraman. Metallo, I know. Ultra Humanite was the character that Superman had a big deal with. Metallo, the Metal Man. I think Metallo was
Okay.
also DC as well, wasn't it? So kind of interesting because that did happen. Like Marvel characters and DC characters merged together with one another, and then you'd get an extra one from one or the other sometimes.
Yeah.
Now this was one of my favorites. Was Bizarnage. The nightmare's crystalline symbiote is the disastrous result of Project Cadmus' attempt to synthetically replicate alien DNA.
And
Can
that was
tell.
another nice touch, is the Cadmus organization popping up throughout all of them,
Right.
or most of
Nuke, Bane Simpson. Here's Hyena that you were talking about. It's Sabretooth and the Joker to go against the Batman Wolverine combination, which again
Yeah.
is just it's a great combination, and they have a history just like the Weapon X history. It
and
really is
an
a shame.
amazing design.
It really is a shame you only get one issue for all of this. Like even the Dark Claw where you get two, it's not enough. Like
No, not at all.
I want good actual backstories with these characters.
I do like, they did do a good job, at least I thought, with the characters that you know the backstories of, with just giving hints and like you being able to kind of piece it together.
Yeah,
Like if you know Wolverine and Batman's backstories well enough, reading it, you kind of get it. Like, okay, so here's kind of the parallels between them anyways, and then they kind of took this element from here and this element from here, and you can
right. You can see it,
kind of piece them together a bit.
and some things like Hydra stayed the same ish. But yeah,
Well, they mixed AIM with somebody, didn't they, for Iron Lantern?
yeah, but that
Can't
was
remember.
those were Hector's. Those were Hector's foot soldiers.
Yeah, there was a name that I thought was clever. I can't remember what it is at the moment.
Now you're gonna make me look it up, aren't you?
I was about to, but if you're already doing it, by all means.
But yeah, what did you take away from this? We still got to cover the like the closing of it, which I guess I can say took place in Doctor Strange Fate. Really, the Doctor Strange Fate sent out Frankie Rayner, Skulk, and the White Witch to pick up Access. Excuse me. Um, once they picked up Access, then they were pretty much home free.
Right.
But the problem was, yeah, I don't have it on hand. You're gonna have to look it up.
Oh, okay.
Once they picked up Access, Strange Fate realized that Access wasn't the answer to, splitting or keeping the world together. And he escaped, figured out how to use his powers. But then that kind of leads into book 4, where, Access finds Darkclaw and Super Soldier. And because he left a shard of himself in Batman and Captain America, those shards live on in the Amalgam universe. So he goes and reactivates those shards and splits everything and takes it back to where it was. Did you find it?
Oh, the Weaponers of AIM.
Right. Instead of the Weaponers of Quard. Because that was those were the minions of Sinestro. But anyway, Access basically splits everything back up, and you get this whole the brothers accept each other and they're gonna live on peacefully or whatever. But there are more stories with Access, and there is another merger that happens. Um, and there's plenty of more characters to talk about. But I think if you can get your hands on these, if you can find copies of them, even reprints or trades, you definitely need to.
Oh, definitely.
This is
These are
this
a
is
super fun read.
this is peak comics. I would say this is peak comics. This is what comics really should have always stayed.
Yeah, they should have just left it merged.
I think if DC ever buys Marvel, they should. Or vice versa. If one of them ever buys the other one, they should revive the Amalgam imprint.
DC's never going to be able to afford to buy Marvel.
Okay, when Alterna Comics gets rich enough to buy Marvel and DC, they should revive the
There we
Amalgam
go.
line. They should revive the Amalgam line on newsprint.
Exactly. You hear that? You hear that, Samedi? We're tasking you with this. That's your
That's
quest. Right. Go up to Disney and slap a 20 down on the table and tell them you want to buy Marvel.
That's right. That's exactly how that happens. I mean, you might need to ask for change. They just released Phase 4 at Comic-Con last night. You might need to ask for some change.
Well, see, no, you let them keep like the Marvel Studios stuff and the rights for like the movies. You just buy the comic publishing name and the comic book copyright, because that's probably only worth like $19.99.
Yeah, I would definitely try and get a discount though if I was taking that much crap off their hands. How many issues of Captain Marvel do you think they're going to make him take home?
If he has a fireplace at home, he won't need wood for a while.
Yeah, there you go. I don't know. It really is sad that this imprint, this idea didn't take off any further than it did. Because this is one of the things that happened in comics during my adolescence, young adulthood, that really kind of, let's see, 20 years ago, I was like 11 years old,
Crazy.
12 years old. Good Lord.
Let's see how I was 5.
Jesus Christ. In
I think.
1996, you were 5?
Yeah.
Oh, God. You fucking baby. But yeah, I mean, this was peak comics. This was right after Age of Apocalypse, right into the heroic age. You know, Liefeld was just steadily adding patches and pouches to everything. Um, John Romita Jr. was breaking into the scene pretty hard. It just, I think The Walking Dead hadn't even started being published yet.
Captain Marvel was nowhere to be found
Oh
because
no,
Rogue
they
killed her.
no, they were. Captain Marvel was totally in there. Captain Marvel and Captain Marvel merged in this book, and they became Captain Marvel, Shazam, aka Marvel.
No, well, I meant the Carol Danvers Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, that's because she was Miss Marvel, and everybody was okay with that.
Yeah, but wasn't at this point she was dead from Rogue? Still,
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I think Rogue still stole her powers or whatever.
I thought they didn't bring her back into full force until later.
I don't know. They've retconned so much shit. It's hard to keep up with unless you're staring at notes. But all in all, I mean, this is definitely something you should get your hands on. I believe there were omnibuses printed. I know there was a trade for the one-offs, at least the 1996 ones. I own that. Um, 1 through 4. I think there was a book for that because 4 is a double-sized issue where they wrap everything up, and the brothers, like, I don't know. I think that's the worst part about this tie-in of the brothers. Like the fact that they are never used or spoken of again. And now that we exist in a world where their concept doesn't even make sense because Marvel and DC aren't just one universe. They're they're both part of multiverses. So,
Yeah,
you know, it
yeah. I
just
was wondering how that would even work nowadays.
it would work with Clint riding up in, a fucking RV and saying because comics. Oh shit. Don Chen and IDW need to get together and do an amalgam of the adolescent radioactive black belt hamsters and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
I mean, there was kind of a versus issue.
Yeah, kind of.
Kind
Speaking of which, we need to schedule doing the Clint miniseries. I've got copies of that for us.
Oh, cool.
So we not confirmed yet, but we may be able to get Mr. Don Chen himself on for an interview of sorts and a live reaction to Clint, a hamster triumphant. So that may be something to look forward to, in the next week or within August.
And you better believe I already have notes going for that.
You haven't even read the book yet. How do you have notes?
Well, I previous notes I had made of from the other issues that I wanted to talk about and ask him about.
Okay. All right. If you're gonna make Don Chen stop talking to us, I'm gonna be mad at you.
Hey, I would say if he's still interacted with us with some of the antics we've got up to in the past several weeks, I think we'll be good.
Well, um, I think that about wraps up for this episode. I have to go and finish wrangling my children, but I think audio issues and all that good stuff taken into consideration. That the fact that we managed to get this much recorded was pretty good.
Yeah, and we still haven't even touched on everything from this
Oh
from this
God, no.
amalgam universe. We'll definitely have to revisit this again at a later date. So look for
Well,
that, folks.
we'll need to talk about access and maybe we can do a little. Maybe we can do a poll or something. Get some involvement and see if people want to vote on the characters that we talk about. Maybe the issues we go a little more in depth with. But
Yeah,
all in all, you guys definitely need to check this amalgam thing out. It was like I said, peak comics. It was something that really should have happened, and I'm glad it did.
it needs to happen again.
I'm just upset that there wasn't more of it.
Can we petition Marvel and DC to bring it back?
Oh yeah, like petitioning them for better comics in the last 10 years has done anything.
I mean, if we do like a change.org.
No, no, they just announced Phase 4. That's all they care about. So,
Fair enough.
but in any event, guys, I definitely appreciate anybody sticking around and anybody listening to this for putting up with the Boomer Power Hour yet again. Brought to you always by Blue Coal. Um, Probably going to be a couple of radio shows next week during the week, so stay tuned for that. I'll get them set up a little bit earlier. I was put under advisement that it probably works better to get these things up a little earlier than 2 minutes before they start. So we'll see how that works.
Things
see how
happen.
We'll see how that works in accordance with not completely fucking everything up with our audio to begin with. So wish us luck.
Yeah.
But until then, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, hopefully, we'll have the audio squared away by the weekend.
Right. Maybe. But in any event, I definitely appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Thank everybody for stopping by, watching, liking, subscribing, all that nonsense. Feel free to drop us a message on Twitter with thoughts and suggestions. Comment down below, however you want to do it. And
Crazed ramblings about nothing.
Crazy ramblings.
Crazy ramblings.